Good evening. The following presentation is ceremonial only. The actual Troy City Council meeting of July 9th, 2012 will begin when I retake the chair. Please let me introduce to you our Honorable Mayor for a Day Essay Contest winner, Mr. Riley Jaski. Will you join us, Riley? Good evening, Your Honor.
My name is Riley Jaski, and I am your mayor for a day. I want to first read my essay. It starts out with the words, citizen participation in government is important because necessary to keep bad government from taking over completely. People can vote against bad government and vote in good government. This process helps keep out the corruption that seems to happen all too often in our government at all levels. When people fail to vote carefully, everyone suffers. When citizens participate wisely in government, good things happen for everyone. I would like to welcome Mayor Daniels, who will give the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in standing. Welcome, Mayor Daniels.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Jaski. If you'll join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we bow our heads in gratitude for the love that you have placed in each of our hearts, our homes, our city, our country, and in our world. We ask for the graciousness that would allow us to forgive others when they trespass against us, as we would wish to be forgiven when we trespass against others. And give us the strength to fight the principalities and powers of evil that surely infect the world in which we live. We ask all these things in the name of our precious Lamb, the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The July 9th, 2012 meeting of the Troy City Council is now called to order.
Good job.
Nice job, Riley. Thank you. I'm really happy that another council member had chosen Riley to be one of the Essay for a Day contest winners. If you'll all join me in thanking Riley for his participation, and please, Riley, continue to be actively involved in local government. The July 9th, 2012 Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Daniels?
Present.
Councilmember Campbell?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Here.
Councilmember Slater?
Here.
Councilmember Teets?
Here.
Quorum present. First on the agenda this evening are two presentations. The first is a Youth Achievement Scholarship Awards of Safe Built to Troy residents Dane Noah Satko and Janet Jones, and then a presentation from the Detroit Institute of Arts on the Inside Out project in Troy from July through September of this year. You have the floor, Cindy.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to say thank you to Safe Built. We did a scholarship contest for the first time this year with the City of Troy, and the applications that came in, our two winners were Jeanette Jones and Dane Noasako. These two are graduating seniors from Troy High. Jeanette is going to be going to Michigan State for medicine, and Dane is going to be going to Michigan Tech up north for engineering. So why don't you come on up here? I don't know if you want to say anything, and then we'll present a check to you.
I just want to say thank you for the scholarship. It's been great serving the city of Troy, and although I'm going to East Lansing, I'll always come back here. This is going to be my home, as always, and thank you again.
And once again, thank you. And it's important to have programs like these to support our youth and the community. And it's really great to see that you guys are actively involved in that. Thank you.
you might not be aware, but Jeanette has been very involved with their community, with Troy Community Coalition and Teens Taking Action. And Dane, as an Eagle Scout, he renovated the print shop at our Troy Historic Village. Plus, he works elections, and he's involved with probably both of their applications. They're too long to name here, but we are very proud of both of our young people that got the first scholarships, and we thank Safe Build for wanting to acknowledge our young people.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure all of you have seen our artwork around town. We've got 6 pieces of art, and today we have Sandra Jenkins from the Detroit Institute of Art. She's going to kind of give a little welcome for our Inside Out project, but we hope you all go visit. Everybody seen it?
Thank you. Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, honorable council members, good evening, and thank you so much. On behalf of the director of the Detroit Institute of Arts, Graham Beal, and all of my leadership colleagues, and in fact all of our employees, we are so thrilled to be represented in the city of Troy this summer with our Inside Out exhibition. As I hope all of you know, and if you don't, I hope you, again, as Cindy mentioned, take the opportunity. Inside Out is an experience that we have created. This is our 3rd year now, where we place reproductions of some of our most popular works of art in unexpected places out in various communities. And so they're always a little bit fun. The themes are always something that goes along with the area around it. They're always unexpected. There's some great programming that goes along with it, and we're so excited that Troy is one of our communities this summer, including one piece which is installed here in the city hall. So take a look at that, right outside here, so you can have a taste of the Detroit Institute of Arts, and when you come down to visit us, you'll actually see where it is. We also want to invite you to a community event that's being hosted by our friends in Ferndale, Leon and Lulu's. In Clawson. They're hosting a community event for the Inside Out citizens of Troy, Ferndale, Clawson, and Royal Oak, and that's going to be Wednesday the 11th, and we'd invite you to come and just have fun as we kick the program off. And further, as a further thank you, we would like to welcome the residents of Troy for a free day at the Detroit Institute of Arts on July 22nd. So please mark that. Please invite your families and get the word out to the citizens that we would be so thrilled to welcome you to see the real works as you enjoy the reproductions that are placed around town. So again, thank you so much.
And one more, and watch our website, because on July 29th we're going to do a bike tour from Troy, Clawson, Royal Oak, and Ferndale. So you can get your bikes out, you can go to all 4 communities and see all the artwork, and we're going to have a lot of other events coming up, so if you just watch our city website, we'll keep you stay tuned to our events.
Very good. Thank you very much. There are no carryover items or public hearings, so we'll proceed to public comments. As a reminder, I'd like to restate that the audience should be aware that all comments are to be directed to the council rather than to city administration or back at the audience. Also, there's a timer on the city council table right in front of the mayor's chair that turns yellow when there's 1 minute of speaker time remaining and turns red when the speaker's time is up. In order to make the meeting more orderly and out of respect, please do not clap during the meeting, and please do not use expletives or make derogatory or disparaging comments about any one person or group. If you do so, there may be immediate consequences, including having the microphone turned off, being asked to leave the meeting, and/or the deletion of your speaker comments for any rebroadcast of the meeting. Speakers should be careful to avoid saying anything that would subject them to civil liability, such as slander or defamation. Please avoid these consequences and voluntarily assist us in maintaining the decorum befitting this great city. I have on the list Philip Broser. Mr. Broser? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you, Mayor Daniels, and the rest of the council.
Speak into the microphone, please?
And the rest of the council members. Many of us here are very concerned about the smart meter program with DTE, and my main concern is the electromagnetic fields that they generate. I've made some copies of a pretty classic DVD called Beyond Coincidence, which I'd like to give to all of the members here, including you. There's much more information about how electromagnetic fields affect the human body, and especially a lot more documentation than just this. There's many scientists, the list is almost endless, who have very current research basically demonstrating causative effects between electromagnetic fields and genetic damage and cancer and other illnesses. But basically, this particular video was produced when there wasn't that much information, but there was definitely a correlation. It's only about a half an hour. It's a very compelling video about how these things have affected individuals and their testimony about it. And I'd like very much for everybody to have a look at this because it is a serious issue. I myself have been affected by electromagnetic fields, and I certainly can feel I'm electrically sensitive, so I can certainly feel the difference since the smart meters have been installed in the Troy area. Anyway, if you don't mind, I'd like to pass these out, if that's fine with you.
You can give them to the city clerk, and she'll pass
Okay.
them out. Thank you.
Seven council members.
Mr. Broser?
Okay, I'll take it.
Mr. Broser? Your time is running out. If you had any other comments you wanted to make?
Well, that's about it for now. It's a vast subject. Besides the electromagnetic field issue, we're concerned about the security of these meters, in that they monitor every activity that goes on in your home, which clearly violates our Fourth Amendment rights. And there's many other issues, and I'm sure there's lots of people behind me which will bring that up. But thanks again, everybody, and thank you for considering this issue.
Thank you very much. Next is Donald Fleming. Good evening, Mr. Fleming.
My name's Don Fleming. I live in Novi, Michigan, and I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. Last year, in late March or early April, in the city of Novi, DTE installed smart meters. I never had a heart problem before. Immediately after that, I spent at least 12 to 15 times in emergency over the year, most of it because of TIAs called trans-ischemic attacks. They're like a precursor to a heart attack. My doctor, Dr. Robert K. Braitman, and the heart cardiac specialist, Dr. Mikado, decided I had to have a pacemaker installed. So they put that in December 19th. I want to stay alive. I'm 82 years old. I'm very fortunate to be as active as I am, and I'm very active. And I want to keep on being active. This thing is dangerous. There's a plethora of reports from all over the world stating that they're harmful. Only DTE and the other electrical companies are stating they're harmless. DTE, when I contacted them to have it removed, said, get a report from your doctor. After explaining the entire situation to my doctor, and he understood it thoroughly, he gave me a report. When I contacted DTE, they said, we don't think they're harmful. So they refused to remove it. Every now and then I'll get like a serious TIA where I get a rush, and then I'll get a sudden like paralysis almost. Luckily, I don't have pain or any other things that heart attacks usually are incurred from a heart attack. But the point is, I've been having these things ever since that smart meter was installed. They are dangerous. I've got just a few of the reports. There's a bioinitiative report issued out of Europe that's about 900 pages long that does nothing but condemn the smart meters. Now, if you're smart, you'll refuse to have them installed. They're stating they want to charge you. I'll send a card to them every month stating what the damage is, what usage I have of electricity. But I want that thing removed, and they're not going to do it. Novi stands firm until DTE says something. I hope that Troy is smarter than that. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, sir. David Sheldon. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak to you. I am from Ferndale, and I come here as a spokesman for one of, I believe it is 3 organizations that are active in southeastern Michigan opposing the smart meters. My group is called Michigan Stop Smart Meters. We have a website, michiganstopsmartmeters.com. And my reason for coming is I am not personally electrosensitive. I got into this battle about a year ago over the privacy issue, and that's when I started getting active and working with others to do something about the situation. We've seen quite a bit happen this past year. Because of resolutions by 9 cities, the Michigan Public Service Commission opened an investigation in January. They invited public comment, they invited responses from the utilities, and they completed their investigation by issuing a report on June 29th. Those of us who've been active in this matter are very disappointed with the content of that report. We feel that the Commission, MPSC, has largely disregarded an enormous body of evidence, both as to the health effects and the privacy invasion that's involved with this device, and other safety issues as well, including interference with home devices, interference with pacemakers, tripping off garage door openers, in some cases burning out expensive electronic equipment within the home. They've ignored all of this. And in their report, they cite primarily, they like to quote Department of Energy reports. Department of Energy is the federal entity that is responsible for pushing this whole smart meter program, so they do have an axe to grind. They do not cite other federal agencies, such as the FDA, for example, or the NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology, which has issued a white paper on privacy policy in relationship to the rollout of the smart grid. None of their privacy guidelines are being followed. The MPSC takes no note of any of that. So we're at a point now. We still would like to get support from city governments, but I think we're at a point now where the focus needs to shift, not so much to persuade the MPSC to do something, because they've taken their stand. We know where they're at, and we know we're not going to get what we want from the MPSC. Where we are now is we'd like city governments to please petition the Attorney General of Michigan, Bill Schuette, and please communicate or pass a resolution on to the state representatives who represent this area. We want to press them to support one of the 2 bills now pending in the legislature. There's the McMillan bill, I believe it's number 5411, and the Opsimer bill, I think that one is 5439 if I'm not mistaken. Those 2 bills, either one of them, would protect the rights of the homeowners and the utility customers. Basically what they do is they guarantee the right of anyone to opt out for any reason, and with no opt-out fees. It is protecting the homeowners' Fourth Amendment rights, protecting their health, and so on. The Opsimer bill also specifies that entire communities or cities can opt out. And we think that's important too, because we need to do something to protect the most vulnerable among us. The various estimates are that between 3% and 15% of the population are electrosensitive. Those people need some protection. They need a place to live. If this thing continues, city after city after city, where are they going to go? They can move from one city when it gets installed smart meters and go to another city, but that city will in turn get smart meters. They will be left with nowhere to go unless we can have whole communities opt out of the smart meter project. That's what we would hope for at this time, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dave Lanier. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. The DTE and the Michigan Public Service Commission will tell you that these meters are safe. But the only testing they've done is with a 200-pound man within a certain distance from the meter, then they measure the amount of radiation coming to him. The radiation coming off the meters is exactly the same as your microwave. It's the same form of radiation. I think it's, I'm trying to think what they call it, a non-ionizing radiation. In low intensity, it will not heat the cells of your body. In high intensity, is in your microwave, it'll cook you. And so what they do is they measure for heat, and if they don't see enough heat, if there's no heat or rays of the cells, then they consider it to be safe. 1 meter, 1 man. But my thoughts were, what about 2 meters? What about 20 meters? What if you live in an apartment where there's 20 meters outside your room, where you live, on the wall of your apartment building? So last September, I had an opportunity to meet with the Michigan Public Service Commission. I put that question to them. What is the cumulative effect of all of the radiation that we're being exposed to? And tonight, I'm going to leave this with you, but within 4-mile radius of where we stand here today, there are 108 cell towers and 303 radiation emitting antennas. This is for Wi-Fi and your cell phones. So basically, we're living in a sea of radiation. When you put the smart meter on, smart meters in a city like this, you're going to have, 60,000? I'm not sure what the number of residents are, but those many meters that are going to be transmitting this radiation within the city on top of the cell towers and the antennas. So what I have here is my email from the Michigan Public Service Commission stating that there has never been a study or research done on the cumulative effects of the smart meters. So I'm going to leave this with you. It's their email to me and the statistics on the antennas and towers within 4-mile radius of here. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Trikes. Good evening.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me here. I'm from Farmington, but I came out tonight because I didn't know how much everybody understood about the smart meters. And one of the things that we need to really understand is when that meter, it's sending out the microwave signals, but then there's a hub, and the hub meter is collecting the data. That's even more intense. So if you're lucky enough to have a house with a hub on it, you're getting a higher intensity of microwave frequency than if it was just a standard meter. You know, what gets me about this whole thing is California has numerous reports of health issues. Texas has numerous cases of health issues. My mom has a smart meter on her house, and she developed classic symptoms that we've read about from these other states. This isn't just in the United States. It's happening worldwide. This isn't just DTE doing this. The question that comes to my mind is, what's this about? Who's behind it? Why do they want everybody to have a smart meter? And if you understand smart technology and the smart chip, this has gone back to the 70s. They knew about it from the 1970s, is when they first started to publish that they were performing smart meter chips, or smart chips, I should say. So they want to put a smart chip in every appliance. That's what the future holds. That's what they've already said. I've read their paperwork. They want to have a smart chip in your refrigerator, a smart chip in your TV, and they want to monitor what your usage is. This is a complete invasion of our privacy. So it goes beyond a health issue. This is much deeper because they're not telling you all the things that they're going to use it for in the future. I'm just going to be brief because I know there are other people that are going to come behind me and talk about it more. But it's something to think about, and it's something to think about, where's this going to go to? What about your kids? Do you want them exposed to this? What's it going to do long term to your children? We need to have the cities stand up and say something to the next level of government so that we can get a statewide agreement to be able to opt out and not be penalized. If we're being charged whatever, it's by kilowatt hour, so it's different for everybody, but whatever the charge is for each individual, they're sending out a serviceman right now to read the meter. Why should I have to pay more? Because I'm not using a smart meter. They're saving millions of dollars by not having a meter person come out for all the homes that have the smart meter. So why am I going to be charged more? That doesn't make sense. It's just a penalization they're trying to penalize us so that we say, well, God, I can't afford that, so I'll go with a smart meter. We shouldn't be forced into this. So we really need your support. It's very important for you guys to actually stand up and say something. It's not time to be shy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Keller? Good evening.
The corporation is...
That microphone.
I'm sorry. The corporation is involved in taking over the lives of all the people in such a way that our freedoms and our rights are being totally taken away. If we watch this happening, if we open our eyes and look to see what's going on, I think that we can all see the result of what's happening. This smart meter situation is just one more piece of this puzzle in terms of taking away people's privacy and taking away their rights of individuality and self-determination. I've got two incidents that I'd like to share with you folks. The first one is that I own a property, a home, not far from here, and the occupant of the house about a year ago got into a little bit of a disagreement with Detroit Edison, DTE. He had prepaid the bill, the electrical bill, and someone at the DTE office did not see that the bill was prepaid. So this was in the middle of February, a year ago. So he came home from work one day, and the electric had been shut off remotely. No one came on the property, no one paid him a visit, no one gave him the courtesy of finding out, what's the deal here. They just shut the electric off. The house has hot water heat, and the pipes froze, and I had damage to the pipes. And it was, a serious situation. The second account that I'd like to share with you is that I know someone who lives in Birmingham, and last summer, shortly after the smart meter had been installed on their house, the smart meter caused a fire, and the fire caused extensive damage. And it's been well known by people who've studied this and are aware of this that the smart meters have caused many, many residential fires. And I would urge you folks to check this out and to look into it. This is a very serious issue, and I think that we really need to do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen Lindsay? Good evening, Mr. Lindsay.
Well, I think you guys have heard a lot. I'd like to see the hands who would want this smart meter on their house. May I see the hands of the board member? May I ask that question?
Well,
could I see somebody who wants, anybody here wants that smart meter?
It's an opportunity for you to speak.
That's good to see that nobody wants it. Well, I'm here to speak for the children that can't be here tonight and the old people who can't be here tonight. The children are not here and the old people are not here because they have not seen the newspaper ads that DTE run on this. Did anybody see an ad from DTE explaining the benefits and features of this meter and how much money it's going to save? Not one ad was written I've ever seen. Now, if you're a good businessman and you have a new mousetrap or a better product, wouldn't you think they'd run full-page ads to get us to accept this? This meter's coming stealth. I think we should pay attention to that. There's nothing wrong with my old meter, guys. I've researched it, and I've been getting a bill every month for many, many years, and I paid this bill. There's simply nothing wrong with my old meter. It doesn't make me sick. It doesn't invade my privacy. It doesn't destroy my constitutional rights. It doesn't profile me. It doesn't cost me extra money. You know, and I like my meter reader. Let's face it, he's a good guy. He has kids, he has a home, and he's been with DTE for 20 years. Now let's talk about the smart meter. DTE got $84 million from our government, the United States Corporation. They had to match that $84 million. And that made it come to $168,000. Now they got the $84 million from who? All of you and me. And then they got the other $84 million from who? All of you. $84 million of our money to put these smart meters on our house. And we got to fight it with our money after tax dollars. And we got to drive over here and talk to you for 3 minutes. I could talk to you all night. This meter will make me sick. I am a cancer survivor. I had stage 4 cancer, and I'll do anything to get this off, keep this off my house, and whatever it takes, and I mean anything. I don't want to get sick again. I know you've heard about the collector meter. The collector meter is somebody on this board might have a collector meter, and that collector meter collects everybody else's, maybe from 100 homes. And that microwave, a wave like this, comes through your house. It don't jump over your house. It comes right in through your house, and it's headed for that other meter, maybe a half a mile away, all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you can't shut it off. You can shut off your cell phone, you can shut off your microwave, but you can't shut off DTE energy. Think about that, guys. And the Fourth Amendment, you know, you guys, you men and ladies and gentlemen, you all signed and raised your hand and pledged to the Constitution, and that has a Fourth Amendment in there. And I'm sure you all read it. I would at least hope so. Every appliance will have a chip in it. There it is. I've got the literature on the chip. I don't know what that chip can do. Can it listen at me? Can it listen to me? It certainly can turn off my air conditioner or turn it down. Can you imagine that? You got asthma and you're sitting at home, and I know a lady who has asthma and she has to have that temperature at a certain thing, at a certain temperature. And she comes to me and she says, Steve, what are we going to do if they turn it down? I may not live. And that lady can hardly leave her house. And that's one lady I'm here talking to you about. And that's just one of millions. I don't know, I got a minute? Well, another thing, they can hack this meter, ladies and gentlemen. They can put a van on the street, sit out there for about a few minutes and find out what room you're in, find out where you're at, find out how many people are in the house, and even know when you're on vacation. I know y'all are going to love that. This meter also can tell every motor you have running in your house. This meter's a computer. It can pick up every motor you have running right down to a water pick. And then they can take that information and keep it for a year or two. And then they can decide they can sell it. Can you imagine one of you board members, your information, I want to buy it, I can find out what you're doing in your house? How would you like that? Well, I know I don't have much time, but if you want to be free, and this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, I see a lot of wimps around this area, all of our state, wherever I go, there's a lot of wimps.
Thank you.
But if you want to be free, you got to be brave.
Pauline Holton. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels, Council. I've got some information for you. I hope you took the time to look through the information we gave you. We've been to a lot of different places talking about the smart meters, but tonight I'd like to talk to you about the contract. I made a contract with DT about my air conditioning when I got it 15 years ago. It was supposed to save me money. I don't think it has. They're talking about the smart meter saving you money. That's not going to save you money either. But they asked me if I wanted this. I wanted that. I was gung-ho. I think I'm going to save money on my air conditioning unit. Wrong, I didn't. But you know what happened this time when we had that heat? They really pulled down my air conditioning. Steve was talking about a lady that had asthma. I have asthma and emphysema. We suffered. I suffered. I could hardly breathe. With that interceptable unit that I wanted to have, they kept shutting it off. It was off for long periods of time. Just think about that. And the new contract with the smart meters. This is a new contract that this smart meter is. It's got so many things on it. It's got shut-off mode. It's got a two-way communication. It's got all these things on it. That is like a new appliance. It's a contract. We really have to look into this. These people in Troy that got it, were they asked? They should have been asked. DT says, well, we're asking people. We're sending out letters. I didn't get a letter. They came up my driveway, ripped my old one off, put the new one on. And by golly, I knew it was coming. John and I have been out here for 3 years talking to people about this, warning them that this was happening, and now it's here. And now no telling how many people in Troy have them. John and I went through Phil's neighborhood, and people have 2 of them on, the smart meter, the 3-watt ones that are putting off a lot of RF frequencies. And a lot of people are getting sick. By the time I left, the time we went in there, I was sick. I had headaches. I could barely walk to the car. There's health implications with these smart meters. There's a lot of problems with these that we have to worry about our people here. Let's not forget about the people. Let's remember about the precautionary principle. When in doubt. When in doubt about the cost, what it will cost people. They're not even talking about the tier levels and the peak pricing that's going to be with these meters. And there's going to. People are getting notices about what it's going to cost them, and it's going to cost you. People's bills are doubling, tripling right now as we speak. I have a little old lady that lives in the UP. Her bill used to be $39, and now it's $100 and some. She can't afford it. Is she going to have to choose between her meds and her food to pay her electricity? And then they're going to shut it off? People like me that had asthma and emphysema, and they did threaten me. DT threatened me, Pauline, if you didn't get this meter, we're shutting you down. But I said, go right ahead, because I didn't care. I would rather do that than accept this meter, because it's going to be a cost. It's going to be a health. Don Fleming came from Novi. He told you about what happened to him. There's so many other people that are having issues with this meter. Not just because of cost, not just because of health, privacy also too. Our Fourth Amendment right will be gone. Will be gone. They'll be able to know, like Steve said, and all these other people in front of us said. Stove, refrigerator, washer, and dryer will have chips and everything will. And they will know. When you get up in the morning, you have a cup of coffee. When you're leaving, they will know. Privacy is at stake here. Please remember the people of Troy. And everybody in Michigan, please call your state rep and senators and tell them to get Set 5411 and 5439 out of committee and onto the floor to be voted on. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Peters? Good evening.
Mayor, Council, folks in Troy. I'm listening to all this stuff, and I know that DT is a union folks, so I have to wonder if there's some political motive behind this. I can't qualify that I'm really expert on this. I vaguely heard about it, so for now I'm not going to say anything else about it. Fireworks. Now, I know I know that the police department can't be everywhere at all the time, but I think that the fireworks is getting out of hand here. I can understand 4th of July, maybe some holidays at 10 o'clock, but like this has been about the 4th day or 5th day in a row now we've been listening to fireworks, and I quite honestly, I wonder if this was the ordinance or that it's being portrayed to the public that they're allowed to. I know some folks are sacrosanct about I don't know, whatever that is, but if the impression that we're giving in Troy that this is a big free-for-all, when, I think I disagree with that. Okay. Also, I wonder if there was some way we could check the atmosphere in Troy for airplanes that are flying overhead. Because I'm concerned about glacial warming. The reason I'm saying that is, we've had a really hot summer. In fact, we even had a warm winter. And I was talking to one of the fellows last week, and we were trying to, at the time, I couldn't come up with it, but infrared and ultraviolet rays, as I understand it, come in from the sunlight, and then they're trapped by carbon atoms and I believe water vapor. And what happens is the carbon atoms, I think, is melting the glaciers and creating water vapor, and that's creating the heating of the planet. Now, when you have a volcano, it's just the opposite. The rays can't come in, and then you have really cold weather. I believe that because of the what's going on in our atmosphere right now, and personally I think that the glaciers are responsible for the fresh water in the world, particularly in the river systems from the Missouri to the Nile to the Amazon. They all start in the mountains and they all head down to over the Yellow River in China. This is, and I think it's really important that we do our best to preserve these glaciers. Okay. Also, I did see on the internet where a girl got shot in the head, 5 shots, by some extremist Taliban. I hope that the guy that did that to that gal is brought to justice over there, over in Afghanistan, wherever he was. Also, I'd like to see a new capital in Lansing. I'm not saying that's the Munsters up there, but that thing looks old, and I would hope that maybe they would consider up there maybe building a new one. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Kaima? Good evening.
Good evening. I want to address some of the statements that you've made, Ms. Daniels, before, during your campaign and now. You recently said in a post, I don't like cronyism, I don't like waste or fraud, and I don't like crime. Well, that's interesting considering what will take place soon here. Just let me tell you about a Hispanic politician recently said his relatives had a saying which when translated meant, look at who you walk with and I will show you who you are. Basically, it's the adage, you are the company you keep. So I'm not surprised at the next appointment being made by council. Ed Kempen is nominated for an appointment to the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, he's of the same creed that recent appointees come from. In 2008, he managed to convince voters to cap our city's millage rate, thus removing council's flexibility of adjustment up or down to account for economic times like in other cities. The campaign for this was less than stellar. This falls in line with much of what has transpired in our fine city. The cap was implied to be a tax cut rather than a cap, and most citizens, shame on them, did not understand it. This was not much different than the bogus library proposals put on the ballot to confuse the voters. Nothing I can say tonight will change the vote. However, I hope others will listen and heed the warning. The members of Troy's prestigious boards and committees are being populated with appointments not based on qualifications, but rather who they supported on council. This shows the hypocrisy of your statement. Now on to other areas. You say you're dedicated to our fine city. Well, I find that a bit ironic since you recently traveled 230 miles to the city of Wolverine as the guest of honor for their Lumberjack Festival. However, a couple days later, you didn't even attend the WDET coffee meeting, which was to speak to residents of Troy and find out what was so good about our city. It was in your own backyard. Judging a parade 230 miles away warrants your appearance and publicizing it on your website as mayor of Troy, but being a positive voice for the city of which your mayor doesn't merit anything? I don't know. You've also said, I truly believe that elected representatives are servants of the people. As a servant, I want to offer people an opportunity to know that they have a voice in the decisions being made at the local level. I'm absolutely committed to outreach with the goal of seeking out solutions, not problems. We all know the problems. I want to find the solutions based upon principles of hard work, ingenuity, and limited government. Well, this is another interesting statement. Since you didn't listen to the business community of Troy when you voted on the transit center, you totally ignored them. It should remind you, however, that the people of Troy do have a voice in the decisions being made at the local level. That's evidence in the overwhelming support for your recall. When you campaigned, you said, I come from the private sector where every day when I go to my job, I have to reach a level of excellence with every customer that I deal with and in every issue I address, or I don't have a job. That's the mindset that is missing in our government positions right now. That's the mindset I want to bring to the government. I assume you're speaking about accountability. I'm curious, under the recent circumstances, do you still feel that way? If you still have that mindset and feel as you did when you campaigned, then you would find the wherewithal to do what is right. Resign.
Thank you. Toby Goslin.
Good evening. Hello. Smile. I always ask you to do that. I often wonder if I were sitting in your seat and looking out at the audience, how I would feel. Thank you for your service to the city. I know it's not easy, and I'm not sure that I would change any of my principles or my ethics if I were sitting in your chair. But I know how hard you worked to get there, and now I'm hoping that you're going to continue forward and do the right thing when we ask you from this side of the wall to pay attention to certain things. I'm here to speak regarding an issue that affected me personally. On June 18th, at the last council meeting, resident Nicholas Cherisaro danced down the aisle of this chamber, always the last speaker, never registered in to speak, flamboyant and intentional. While this resident enjoys his freedom to speak and misbehave, he's not allowed to slander my name with inaccuracies and accusations. Let it be known, I'm prepared to take this to the next level if necessary. I demand a public apology from you, Mayor Daniels, for failing to enforce the rules of conduct during an open council meeting. The patch is here. They issued a written apology and quickly removed the names that were noted. It was noted in error, and it was removed. For the record, you can fool some of the people, some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. I don't participate in Facebook, never have, never will, or Twitter. Maybe I'm showing my senior brain. I don't know. Don't care to be involved with that. I don't dig up dirt, as he claimed. I'm a responsible citizen. I'm respectful of others. I'm honest, and I'm ethical. And if I sat in your seat, and someday maybe I will, right now I'm not for hire. I've been approached a few times. People are looking at me. It's an honor to serve in your seat and doing the duty that you do. I know it's not easy, and I appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, when I went home and I reread what Mr. Cherisaro wrote and posted, it made my hair stand up on end, and I'm holding you people accountable for this. I demand a public apology. You read a disclaimer before this meeting started, Mayor Daniels. You said certain things. We expect you to follow through. There should be consequences for that sort of behavior. And I am prepared to take it to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. John Holden? Good evening.
Good evening. John Holton, 2392 Barclay Avenue, Shelby Township, Michigan. Our website's w4ar.com, Words for American Revolution. We've been fighting injustice against elderly, the poor, the invalid, the people who cannot represent and speak for themselves for over 5 years now. And the smart meter is part of that issue because we cannot get the representation protection from our government. I know the MPSC just is giving us an opt-out, but DTE, as of this morning on the Frank Beckman show, had told them that there is an opt-out already. There is no opt-out already. Smart meters are not safe. There is no cost benefit. Even the MPSC says there's no cost benefit to smart meters. It's on their website. Only changing your lifestyle will save you money. Check their website. If you go to our smart meter page, that information is on there, along with all the documentation I normally carry around with me. You have the Consumers Protection Act. My wife was talking earlier about the contract. When did you sign a contract for a new smart meter that has two-way communication, load limit disconnect, open to the gas module, remote program, time of use, peak time pricing? You never signed a contract for that. They never came up and notified you, hey, we're going to offer you cheaper rates if you take this meter. They never did that. I've sent you an email about the 2005 Energy Act, where it is required that they offer you the time of use, peak time pricing rates. In exchange, they will also give you, at your request, a smart meter so you can monitor those rates. That is the second option on the opt-out that Michigan Public Service Commission is offering, that they came through with their decision. No cost penalty, no punishment to the consumer that says they don't want it. They will not go to jail. They will not lose their service. They will not go ahead and have inconvenience inflicted upon them. All they want is to be left alone, to be in their home and have their normal life and not be punished for going ahead, representing and protecting their own family. And it's critical that if you read on the Michigan Consumer Protection Act that my wife gave you, on J it says, representing that a part replacement or repair service is needed when it's not. The Michigan Consumer Protection Act says it's unlawful to deceive, coerce, intimidate somebody, lie to them, and make them pay for something they never contracted for. That's Michigan Public Act 331 of 1976. We need to get the Attorney General to go ahead and enforce the laws of Michigan. We need to get our congressmen and senators to go ahead and pass these bills, HB 5411 and HB 5439. We need to go ahead and have the people we elected represent us and protect us again. Because who's going to do it for us? This is our country. We're not talking about foreign wars. We're talking about our lives, our children. We had students in here earlier. And like I said on Charlie Langdon's show this morning, how much RF is too much? DTE says RF is everywhere, in your cell phones and your computers and your Wi-Fi, your microwaves. And I say they're forcing it on your home with smart chipped appliances in your home. And how much radio frequency is too much? I don't care if you think it's 6 microwatts per centimeter squared or 250 microwatts per centimeter squared. When will your children's attention span be diminished? When will your children go ahead and not be able to concentrate? When we go from a 4.0 to a 2.5? When will we get ADD? Or when will it actually give you cancer or some other illness that we won't find out for 2 decades, 3 decades down the road? Will this be the new cancer of the 21st century? Radio frequency, the new health hazard that we don't know about because we can't see it, smell it, or touch it. All we know is out there. So we have to do something about this to protect our families, our friends, and our neighbors. We have to go ahead and make Lansing represent us and protect us. We need you to do that by passing a resolution to a complete opt-out with no penalty. We go back to our normal lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Hodorak. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. These are really exciting times in Troy, and for the first time in several years, I am full of hope about the possibility that Troy voters have arisen from their apathy and are recognizing this is a great city worthy of each of us taking our time to truly learn the issues and opportunities and to make sure the positives of Troy are sustained. We just began a new budget year. We should all be ever grateful to the Finance Director, Tom Darling, and city staff for the effort to put forward over 100 charts and backup materials and then to teach, counsel, advise City Council over the course of the thorough and incredibly transparent budget study sessions in April and May. It's reassuring to know that Troy is ahead of most municipalities in the state with its leading-edge 3-year rolling budget process. This type of transparency in teaching wasn't new this year. This has been the practice. But the bonus in this budget study cycle was the analysis done to give a 5-year projection. That 5-year projection was based on conservative estimates. No Pollyanna games are being played here in Troy like what we've been seeing in Wayne County. This was at once eye-opening, instructive, and yes, a wee bit concerning. It's also very affirming. The projection shows it's a good thing the library millage was passed a year ago. It was the fiscally responsible decision to make. We saw this clearly during the budget study sessions, and we can continue to be thankful for the sacrifices employees have made, contributing to our ability to pad our fund balance for another 2 years. So many of us in the community can feel a sense of success in that we have saved 2 great assets in the city, our library and our much treasured fund balance that protects our bond rating. Coming back to Mr. Darling, who recently assumed his finance role on a more permanent basis, we as a community should be thankful for that. I understand there were about a dozen, please correct me if I'm wrong during your comments, candidates with credibility and experience in municipal finance that were approached for that role, but sadly they did not want to come to Troy. This was once a city folks in such a career path aspired to, and I'm sorry that the anti-government rhetoric and mistrust in this community over the past several years has changed that. Actually, a number of key employees have bailed, and I can't say I blame them. But I am feeling confident that this is about to turn around. Anyone out there watching who might be thinking of applying for the city manager position, please know that the residents of Troy are on the brink of regaining the aspirational, entrepreneurial, community-minded spirit that truly represents this great city. Yes, we've been on a brink of reputational disaster, but I truly believe we are in a position now to prevent that. This is due in great measure to several leaders who have really risen to the occasion. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, you bring experience now to council and that great legal mind. I appreciate your fact-based, dispassionate, nonpartisan approach so very much. Councilman Slater, too, is leveraging his time he served on council as well as his years with Troy's outstanding police department. It's rewarding to see him round out a long career of service to the community with an evidence-based, studied, and calm perspective to sustain this thriving municipality. The new councilman, Jim Campbell, found his council sea legs almost immediately and brings a fiscally conservative, logical, private sector perspective that is proving to be invaluable. Campbell's experience as a straightforward turnaround businessman is very much appreciated, and Troy is benefiting greatly from his natural ability to quickly comprehend and discern the challenges and opportunities and present himself as a solid leader. We are indeed very much blessed to have his very real and legitimate private sector perspective at this table. The consistent, logical, and pragmatic decision-making I see in these 3 is representative of the Troy I've known and loved throughout my 23 years here. I'm proud to see it in action. Fellow residents, city staff, and community leaders who see the possibilities, let's follow through and unify ourselves to protect Troy's strengths from hyper-partisan politics and the games that career politicians seem to enjoy playing here in Troy. I've had enough, and given the number of signatures collected by the grassroots recall team, it's crystal clear that I'm definitely not alone. People are finally getting informed and getting wise. Yes, indeed, these are very exciting times here in Troy, and I thank God for the blessing of that and the new grassroots effort that is redeeming this city. I truly do.
Thank you. That concludes the audience members who signed up to speak. Is there anyone else who would like to come to the podium and speak? I'm sorry. Yes, sir. You've already spoken? No, I was speaking to the gentleman. If you would like to come forward. Good evening. If you could announce your name, please.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Jeff Williams, and I've been a Troy resident since 1985. First of all, let me say I'm sorry to have to reiterate some of what I spoke about during the last council meeting, but Mayor, you've left me no choice based upon your response to public comments at the last meeting. Mayor, during that last council meeting, I spoke to the comments that you had made as a guest on your friend Charlie Langton Talk Radio on June the 13th. During your interview, you had made the statement to Mr. Langton, and I quote, "I'm a good mayor, and I think I have the ability to be a great mayor." Okay. So based upon those comments you made publicly, and to refresh your memory, I had requested at the last council meeting that you provide us with a list of what you had contributed specifically during your last 8 months as mayor to move this great city forward. a specific list that would surely support your public claim of being a good mayor now with the potential of being a great mayor. Mayor, I believe mine was a fair request given your public comments. What transpired later during that June 18th council meeting during response to public comments, you proceeded to read from a prepared script listing various accomplishments such as, 1, an increase in residential building permits in the city of Troy, 2, new construction projects, 3, National Youth Association 16 and under hockey tournament for April of 2013. Mayor, let's be honest, you had little to do with those actions. In fact, the only example that you listed as a specific accomplishment of yours was the Mayor for a Day essay contest. Mayor, perhaps I wasn't as clear as I should have been in my previous request, so let's try this again. Mayor Daniels, as Mayor of Troy, what have you done specifically that defines you as a good mayor with the potential to be a great mayor? Remember, those were your words, not mine. If you really think your actions as mayor has moved this city forward since your election, you should have no problem listing several key and very specific examples of that leadership in action. Mayor, this is not a trick question. I don't think I'm being a bully. I'm just asking the question I'm sure that's on the minds of thousands of citizens of Troy. On the contrary, I really think you owe it to your constituents to take this opportunity tonight to look in the camera right in the back of the room, and this time without a prepared script, to simply talk to us here in this room and those that are watching on TV, to tell the nearly 9,000 citizens of Troy why we are wrong to request you to be recalled in November. Tell us all why we, the citizens of Troy, will suffer by not having you continue as mayor based upon your past performance thus far. Now, I know you and your supporters are already quite busy developing your strategy to attempt to save your political career. I'm sure they and you are drafting a document that you will read at the city council meeting just prior to the November recall vote, and that's fine. But what we want to know now, before that document gets written, we want to know from your perspective, what are your accomplishments as mayor? Plus, as you recall, during the radio interview, you begged your listeners on Charlie Langston's talk show to really get to know the real Mayor Janice Daniels. Well, Mayor, once again, here's your chance. How about a Mayor Daniels Unplugged tonight? Will you please tell us what we deserve to know, unscripted from your perspective, and it shouldn't be that difficult. Mayor, I hope that we will get our answer this time around. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
One little terse comment I'd like to make.
Well, sir, you've already spoken. You had your 5 minutes of comment time. I would appreciate that you would maintain the decorum of the city, please. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? Okay, that concludes public comments. I apologize, sir. We move to response to public comments. Would anyone like to take a break? We can continue. Are there any responses? Okay. Yes, sir.
One comment that Mr. Peters brought up, and that was about fireworks. And are we talking about that later today, or I didn't see anything on the agenda?
It's really not on the agenda. If you'd like to address Mr. Peters' comments now.
Yeah, I'd like to bring it up. You know, I also have been barraged for the last 2 weeks with a lot of fireworks around the house. And while I like a good firework display as much as the next person, 2 weeks is excessive. And I'd like to get a response from the city attorney and possibly from council to see what we can do to at least limit not just the length of time, maybe, you know, how late people can fire off fireworks into the evening. You know, I know they've gone off later than 2 o'clock in my neighborhood in the morning. And also, you know, I hear some that don't sound like they're manufactured. I think they're homemade. So I think people are taking this to the extreme. So it definitely needs to be addressed.
Attorney Bloom?
Mayor, did you want me to address it now, or do you want me to address it in the council referrals? I can do it either, whatever is the preference of council.
What would the council prefer?
Mayor, I was going to bring this up in council comments and maybe in referrals as well, so I'd rather wait till that point of the meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that I helped lead the charge to reopen the library on Saturday. My goal is to indeed have it open 7 days a week as soon as the budget can accommodate that, because I think that the library is a great place for learning. That's one of the accomplishments. As one member of a 7-board council, I think that you could see that we have had probably 90% agreement on all issues. I tend to vote no when there's a tax increase or a millage increase, so I think that I've protected the people from, or tried to protect the people from, tax increases, and I think that we all work together to lower the cost of that transit center to $6 million. I really give more compliments to Councilman Fleming. I think that I have a reasoned approach, just as everyone else on this council, and I think I'm doing a fine job. Thank you very much for the question. We can move on now to...
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I feel an obligation to respond to that because you voted no to open the library on Saturday.
Well, sir, you know that I voted no because I wanted to vote yes on a 7-day-a-week library.
That may be, but
Please don't distort my vote, sir.
I'm not distorting, I'm just stating a fact. The fact is you voted no to open the library on Saturday.
And the fact is that I wanted to vote to open the library on 7 days a week, and that's why I voted no. So I don't like my record distorted. I don't like the fact that I've been told that people were approached with the scare tactic that I was going to eliminate the Troy Police Department. I have done nothing but praise the Troy Police Department. I spoke at their memorial. In fact, if you go to my website, JaniceTroyMayor.com, you can read my speech. I was very complimentary to the Troy Police Department. I think that I make a good outreach to the community. If there's any other comments, Councilman Teets?
I realize this has all to do with the upcoming election, has nothing to do with the city of Troy's business, so I prefer just to move on to the next items on the agenda. You know, I prefer just to go on with city business.
Thank you, Councilman Teets. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
I have a question. There were obviously several people that commented on the smart meter, and I saw that a resolution came after the fact because it was omitted from the agenda today. I do want to make sure that I know whether or not we're going to be having a conversation about that later in the meeting.
I believe that we will have a conversation about that in council referrals or council comments. We'll move on if we're finished with the comments.
And the same, actually the same issue applies because it was brought up by Toby Goslin regarding the rules of procedure, and it was my understanding that Councilman Teets may be forwarding something about amendments to rules of procedure, so if that's going to be later in the agenda, then I'll save my comments for that as well.
Indeed.
Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. There are no postponed items, so we move to regular business. Under mayoral appointments, we have the following resolution. Resolved that the mayor of the city of Troy hereby appoints Mr. Paul Hof, Mr. John Sharp, and Dr. David Shields to the Local Development Finance Authority. Mr. Hof will serve a term scheduled to expire 6/30 of 2015, and Mr. Sharp and Dr. Shields' terms are scheduled to expire 6/30 of 2016, and the mayor of Troy hereby appoints Mr. Ed Kempen to the Planning Commission for a term to expire 12/31/2013. May I have a second?
Support.
Moved by Mayor Daniels, seconded by Councilman Fleming. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
No.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
No.
Councilmember Slater?
No.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Appointments made. Congratulations, gentlemen. We now move to City Council appointments. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, you have the floor.
Resolved that Troy City Council hereby appoints the following nominated persons to serve on the Liquor Advisory Committee. 2 student rep appointments for terms expiring July 31st, 13, Pappas and Sherlink.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, seconded by Councilman Campbell. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes. Appointments made. Congratulations. We thank all of our appointed board and commission members for their volunteer service to the city. There are no mayoral nominations on the agenda, so we'll move to city council nominations. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, you have the floor again, please.
Actually, I'm not going to be making any nominations at this time. In terms of the Historic District Commission, I would like to put this out there in the public forum. If there's anyone interested in serving in a capacity as a board or committee member, you can contact me directly via email or telephone, and I can discuss. I am looking for someone to fill this Historic District Commission, and it probably would apply to someone with a particular interest in the Historical Society of the community, with a little bit of a background that I can explain further if someone wants to contact me directly. And I have no other nominations at this time.
Thank you. Item I-4, we have an application regarding Class C and SDM, which stands for Specially Designated Merchant liquor licenses for Rochester Road Ventures. Would someone like to move the resolution forward? Councilman Teets?
Resolve, the Troy City Council hereby considers for approval a liquor license request as indicated below, and hereby authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute the document, a copy of which shall be attached to the original minutes of this meeting.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Teets, seconded by Councilman Fleming. Discussion?
Point of order.
Councilman Slater?
I believe there's an A and a B. If that could be moved A and B.
I apologize. There is an A and a B.
I'm going to hand the ball off to Councilman Slater to go through A and B, if you would, please.
You can just,
Not to put you on the spot, but
Mrs. Bittner?
you can just move both at the same time.
I'll move both A and B as printed.
Support. Okay, moved by Councilman Slater, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item I-5, we have a request for a waiver of the bid process for the purchase of fire apparatus. Would someone please move this resolution forward?
Madam Mayor, I move the resolution as printed.
Second?
Second.
Moved by moved by Councilman Fleming, seconded by Councilman Slater. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilman Fleming?
Of course, we know we need this pumper, but in reading the detailed support for this resolution, I noted that we apparently barely missed a deadline, and as a result, the price of this pumper has increased about 2.9%, or about almost $15,000. My question is, and I did prompt the city manager that this would be coming forward, so I see we have Chief Nelson here. My question is there any way we can negotiate, we're just a few days from that we could go back and possibly negotiate, since we're so close to the deadline, that we could save that almost $15,000?
We can certainly try. We have broached that with them, and basically since our fiscal year didn't start till July 1st and their price increase took effect July 1st, we're a victim of the calendar. But we can certainly go back and talk to them again, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Fleming?
Just a question, is that something we were aware of in advance, that this price increase was going to be 2.9% July the 1st, or is that something we weren't aware of at the time?
We had asked for the quote, and the quote is dated in June. So we were trying to prepare for this, and so we knew that that was going to happen. Unfortunately, we have no mechanism to spend the money before the budget year starts.
Councilman Henderson?
If we don't approve this resolution, does that give the city a little better bargaining position to go back and negotiate that?
Are you asking the captain?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the question, sir.
I'd say if council turns down this resolution, does that put us in a better position to negotiate that with the vendor?
Well, Pierce has a patent on this fire truck, sir, and we have 4 of them already, and we're trying to make the last one we buy match the other 4. So if we want this truck, now if we were to try to bid some other type of truck, we certainly would have more leverage because it's an open bid. But Pierce has sold 500 of these trucks. They do have a patent on it, on the design and the pump. So if we want to improve our operations and keep them consistent, we pretty much have to get a truck from them. Now, whether that gives us leverage or not by having you turn down the resolution, I really can't tell you.
I noticed that the original agreement was a consortium of 6 other communities. Are there any other communities that need pumpers that we might get a volume discount?
We looked into that. That actually turned into about 14 communities, and I think we bought almost 18 trucks. The problem is most of those communities buy 2 or 3 trucks at one time, and then that's done. They're done for like 6 or 7 years. In order to try to keep our budget relatively level, we buy 1 a year, or we have up until now, and that's not the way most cities do it. They usually buy, Independence tacked on to our bid and bought 3 pumpers. So trying to put that consortium together, number one, it takes a tremendous amount of work. Last year, Brighton Township chose to do that. We really don't have the staff to try to put together a consortium like that and get those specs together and get everybody's specs and things like that. So, and we can certainly try it, but it will certainly delay the process. And the truck we're replacing is 20 years old. It's a function of reliability and functionality. We're losing reliability with it. We're getting rid of some vehicles today that almost qualify as historic vehicles because they're 25 years old, and they really don't serve the fire department well, which really ultimately doesn't serve the citizens very well.
Madam Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
I also had the same question that Councilman Fleming brought up, and I did note that although we missed the tag-on deadline, there were other concessions that have been made as well, and we are going to have the ability, because we budgeted for this 1 truck per year over an extended period of time, we do have the ability to pay in full, so we're going to get a considerable discount for that. And then I also noted that it's going to take a long period of time, I think it was 7 months or something to that effect, to get this truck once we put the order in. And I think given the fact that we budgeted for it and we really pushed ourselves to the absolute limit with the truck that's in service now and the problems that it's having, it could potentially put us at risk if we prolong this. So I think the fact that we were able to get other concessions that brought us from a tag price of $582, $174 down to the price that's here in our resolution of $527, $596, and the fact that we budgeted for this over the course of 6 years, I'm satisfied with that, and I'm prepared to vote on the resolution tonight.
Councilman Campbell?
Yes, I'm sure that since it's our 4th truck, that we're going to save more than 2.9% on spare parts that you have for the 4 trucks, as well as training, familiarity with the equipment. So really, the 2.9% should not be a showstopper, and I would support going forward with the price.
Madam Mayor, may I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
Please remember, Chief Nelson said he would still try, no matter what. So he's going to attempt to do some negotiating, whatever he can get, and hopefully maybe something will come of this.
Thank you.
It's not totally lost cause.
Thank you. Councilman Fleming?
Chief, I'll certainly support this resolution, but I would appreciate you trying because we only missed it by a few days. And we have bought, 5 or 6 vehicles, 5 vehicles from them over a 6-year period.
4.
4? Okay. Over a 6-year period? Okay. So, and even though we do have the discounts, understand that we normally get the discounts, this is still more than we paid for the past pumpers, at 2.9%. So, and I appreciate the discounts and negotiation that purchasing has done with the consortium that you have, but I'd certainly support this. I'm not suggesting we hold it up, but would like for you to go back and say, we only missed this a few days, guys. You knew we were going to buy it. We had the bid out there, and it's just a timing issue. Their price did not go up 2.9% automatically July the 1st. That's an option they have.
Thank you. Any other comments? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item I6, we have a request to approve an application regarding SDD, which stands for Specially Designated Distributor, and SDM, specially designated merchant, liquor licenses for Kelly's Market. Would someone please move the resolution forward?
Madam Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem?
I move the resolution both A and B as printed.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, seconded by Councilman Campbell. Discussion? I noticed that there was an incident where there was a recent investigation that determined that the location of some alcoholic beverages was in violation of the city ordinance. I wonder what that was, what violation that was?
Madam Mayor, I know that Mr. Scott Edwards is in the audience on behalf of the applicant. I'm sure that he would be happy to address that for you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. My name is Scott Edwards. I'm for the applicant. We don't have control of the property as of yet, but certainly we are aware of the need to keep the spirits behind the counter, and we'll be in full compliance with the Troy ordinances as far as the shelving of alcoholic beverages, including the spirits.
I also noticed that there was a pending health inspection. Is it customary for us to approve a transfer like this in advance of the results of a health inspection?
Under the new laws, yes. Unfortunately, it is a change. It is a change in the process for liquor licensing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. You're welcome. Item I-7 is a request to approve a private agreement contract for installation of municipal improvements by the Old Dominion Freight Lines, project number 12.904.3. Would someone please move the resolution? Councilman Fleming?
Mayor, I'm pleased to move the resolution as printed.
Second?
Support.
Moved by Councilman Fleming, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
That motion passes. That concludes our regular business. We'll move to consent agenda items. Are there any items that need to be removed for discussion? Okay, would someone like to move the resolution forward? Councilman Fleming?
Resolved that Troy City Council hereby approves all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Fleming, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Motion passes. There are no memorandums, but we do have a future council agenda item, and that's the announcement of a public hearing on July 23rd of 2012 regarding amending a zoning ordinance, Article 5, to allow for financial institutions to construct drive-through facilities within the Big Beaver corridor. Notice has been duly given. And there are no council referrals, but there's an item on the table, and that is the resolution for the smart meter. Would someone like to move the resolution forward? I would like
Mayor?
someone to read this, please.
Mayor?
I'm sorry?
If you'd like to add a resolution to the agenda, you would need to vote to waive your rules to add that resolution.
Okay. So can we have a discussion? Well, we ask for the vote.
Ask for the vote to waive the
Okay.
rules first.
Mayor,
Councilman Fleming,
I move to waive the rules of procedure.
second.
I support.
Moved by Councilman Fleming, seconded by Councilman Teets. So we're waiving the rules to be able to add this resolution. If someone would like to read the resolution, please? No?
Mayor, you need to vote on that, whether or not you
Vote.
waive
Yeah,
the
I'm
rules,
sorry.
and then you bring
I'm
it up.
sorry. Is there any discussion? A vote, please.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes?
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. So we'll add the resolution. Would someone like to read this resolution, please?
Madam Mayor, You brought this forward,
I'll read it.
and I concur with it, but since it was your idea, maybe you want to...
All right, I'll read it. Basically, I used the county commissioner's resolution, and it reads, whereas Detroit Edison Company, Consumers Energy Company, and other energy providers have been deploying smart meters in Troy, and whereas the Michigan Public Service Commission, in an order dated January 12, 2012, directed electric utilities to provide information on several topics, including whether the electric utility intends to allow customers to opt out of having a smart meter, and how the utility intends to recover the cost of an opt-out program if one will exist, and whereas Michigan Attorney General Schuette, in his comments to the January 12, 2012 order dated April 16, 2012, identifies two issues that must be addressed before the MPSC approves further deployment of smart meters and recovery by the utilities of costs from ratepayers.